Hello, Lucas Catton here. And I wanted to follow up on an earlier video that I did. We're talking about managing expectations of or the outcomes and how not being attached to an outcome, a specific outcome, and how much easier life will be if you can set goals, but um, not really attach your worth or your happiness to the attainment of that particular goal. And stepping that back even further, even on a much smaller level, is managing expectations as a whole, and that our expectations really are the root of so much disappointment in our lives if we look at it. And it can be from day to day, moment to moment, right? There's so many different things that come up that we expect a particular thing to happen, and then it doesn't, and then we're, sad, angry, hurt, left out, lonely, depressed. What are all these different emotions that can come up because we expected something and it didn't happen? So we're setting ourselves up for that. Now that doesn't mean that we don't want things to happen, or that we don't have goals, or don't have an idea of the next thing that we're going to do, or that sort of thing. But if we let go of those expected outcomes, then we can release so much of, and not necessarily an outcome. It could be just a current situation as well. Like if we expect ourselves to have done XYZ by now and we hadn't, and we go, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I haven't done that, or I don't have that, or I'm not that, or whatever that we then start to do. And it's funny because, I look at it from, let's say, little kids, as simple as this is, my youngest son is 2.5, and if he decides that he wants candy in the morning, and he's got his mindset now on, I'm going to have this candy, and I say, no, we don't have candy in the morning, and then there's a mini meltdown, if he had his heart set on having some candy in the morning. And watching that, it really, like, for me, I go, wow, I actually do that on so many other things where I may not outwardly display this temporary meltdown, but I feel terrible for a given time, or really build up some internal stress. Stress is a good word for it because it can go in different directions. But it could also be sadness, and it could be other things too. And maybe I'm expecting something of my kids or of my wife, or at work, if you expect your coworker or your employee to do something exactly the way that you would do it, and then you get frustrated if they won't because they're not you, so they're not going to actually do it that exact same way. Then why get upset over it? Because it's our expectations that are creating the upset. But if you say, I would like for this to happen, and I'll deal with it in that particular moment, however it comes up, and I'll work toward that, and I may have a goal, or may have an idea of how something should be done, or I would like to have this end result, and you are working in that direction, but understand that that specific thing may not be the end result that you are expecting. Then it won't be as upsetting. It won't be as stressful. And in the age of social media as a whole, this one of my really earlier videos, we talk about social media and comparison, and how comparison can be really such a dangerous thing when we're trying to compare our lives to someone else's, especially the highlights that are on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And if this expectation also comes in that form, if we see someone else going on a vacation and we expect to have that, if we see someone else getting an accolade at work, or their kids excelling in a sport, or receiving wonderful grades, or they're just having dinner together at home, or they're going out to dinner, or they're traveling, or they're doing anything at all, whatever it is, that you then say, oh, I wish I had that, or I wish I was doing that. And that could be cool on one hand if you go, yeah, I'd like to do that sometime. Or if you're going, oh my gosh, I'm not doing that right now, I'm going to feel terrible about it. Or I wish I was, therefore having, some sense of lack in that moment that I'm not, or I would expect some other feeling at the moment. I wish I wasn't having to deal with whatever it is. So these expectations really set us up for daily frustrations that can compound, and to have, more stress, more anxiety, more anger, more frustration, more sadness and depression. These things continue to build up and to have a lasting effect on us. And by taking a step back and go, wait a second, what's happening here? Am I expecting something? And because it's not exactly how I thought it should be, that I'm now feeling this? Well, I can change that. I can accept rather than expect. I can accept that things are the way they are in this particular moment and choose to pivot from there. What will be my next thing? How should I receive this? I am okay with this exact, at this moment, this is what's happening, and I can be okay with that. At least accepting of what is, rather than wishing it were different or expecting something else, is a first step in having some internal contentment and finding some, really, if you look up the word equanimity, and finding some sense of balance within, that you can be okay whether things are or they aren't. And as simple as having candy in the morning or not, or sitting in traffic, or being on time, or expecting someone else to be doing something that may not be anywhere in their realm of doing, whether it be for you or for themselves or whatever. Managing those expectations and stepping back into the current moment now can really take a huge load off and a huge weight off your head, and make your daily life so much easier. So that's one little tip for me. That's what I try and do when I find myself really grinding, is what am I expecting that's different from now, and walking it back. And it helps. So I hope that helps you. And I'd love to hear from you. And until then, you can go to lucascatton.com, listen to some podcast stuff, watch some other videos, or send me a note. I'd love to connect. Take care.